The rain fell softly over Los Angeles the night Marcelito Pomoy arrived for the AGT Champions 2025 taping. He stepped out of the car quietly, his hands trembling not from the cold but from the memories he carried with him. Memories of a life where music had been his only escape, and his only hope for most of the world. He was the man with the two voices, the miracle singer from the Philippines. But for Marcelito, he was still the boy who once stood outside closed doors, listening to families argue inside, wondering why love never seemed to stay. Life had been unkind to him. Abandoned as a child. Split from siblings. Raised without stability. And later, in adulthood, misunderstood and underestimated. Even after winning hearts worldwide, there were nights he felt like that same lonely boy, sitting on the edge of a bed too small for his dreams, and yet, he kept singing, because singing was the one thing that had never left him. Tonight, as he walked into the dim backstage hallway of AGT Champions, he wasn't here just to perform, he was here to prove to himself that his voice still had a purpose, still had a place in a world full of noise. The moment before the STRM backstage, producers rushed around with clipboards, adjusting headsets, preparing cues. But in the middle of the chaos stood a man who carried his calm like a quiet storm, Simon Cowell. He wasn't sitting behind the table yet. He was standing off stage, arms crossed, observing performers warming up. When his eyes landed on Marcelito, something flickered, a memory, recognition, and perhaps even admiration. He walked over. Back again? Simon said with a crooked smile. Marcelito bowed slightly. Yes, sir. I wanted to try one more time. Simon tilted his head, studying him. You don't have anything to prove to us anymore. You know that, right? Marcelito's voice softened. Maybe not to you. But to myself. I think I do. Simon paused, then nodded respectfully. Then give the world something it will never forget. That sentence echoed in Marcelito's heart long after Simon walked away. Quiet fears, loud HRT. Sitting alone in the green room, Marcelito closed his eyes. He saw flashes of his old life, the small Filipino town, the years searching for his family, the confusion, the longing, the pain. He remembered how he once felt invisible, how nobody believed a child like him would amount to anything, and then he remembered the kindness of strangers, a neighbor who offered leftover food. A teacher who gave him pencils. A security guard who once let him sing for coins so he could buy rice. Every small kindness had stitched a wound inside him, and tonight, he wanted to give something back, not with money or material things, but with the one gift God had never taken from him, his voice. The crowd goes sail into the stage manager whispered, Marcelito, you're next. As he walked through the dark tunnel toward the stage, the crowd's thunderous noise began to fade. He could hear only the beating of his heart. When he stepped into the spotlight, tens of millions around the world watched through cameras. The audience erupted the moment they recognized him, but he didn't smile. He stood tall, grounded, his expression filled with a quiet intensity. The judges stared, especially Simon, who leaned forward with a look that said, Show me who you are now. The song that shook the world. The first notes began. A soft, haunting, angelic. Marcelito opened his mouth, and a pure female soprano filled the air. The audience froze. The judge's eyes widened, but this time, something was different. His voice wasn't just technically perfect. It carried years of ache, every scar, every lonely night, every unanswered prayer. Then, seamlessly, like a wave crashing into itself, he shifted into a deep male tenor, powerful, rich, emotional. Point two voices, point one heart, and for the first time, even he could feel it. He wasn't just performing, he was releasing everything he had held inside. The camera cut to Simon, who whispered under his breath, Oh my God, he's even better than before. The audience stood. People were crying, covering their mouths. The performance grew bigger, higher notes, deeper resonance, a vocal duel between the man he was and the child he once had been. By the final note, the entire auditorium was in tears, and when the music stopped, silence. A silence so heavy it felt sacred, then a roar so loud it shook the walls, the shock that broke Simon. The judges stood in awe, but Simon didn't clap immediately. He looked at Marcelito with a stunned expression, not disbelief, but something deeper, respect, pride, gratitude. When he finally spoke, he removed his glasses, wiping his eyes quickly. Marcelito, he began, voice trembling slightly, I've judged thousands of singers. And maybe I've heard better technical voices. Maybe I've seen more polished performances. But, he paused, but I have never seen someone turn pain into something so beautiful. The crowd gasped, You didn't just amaze us. You reminded us why this show exists. You reminded me why music matters. Then, with a sudden burst of emotion, Simon slammed the golden buzzer. Gold rained from the ceiling like a blessing, like everything Marcelito had ever prayed for falling into his hands at once. Marcelito looked up, tears spilling freely, not because he won something, but because he felt seen fully, truly seen. The AFTRMADH backstage, Simon approached him again, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You didn't just amaze the world again," he said softly. "You healed something in it." Marcelito's voice shook. Thank you for believing in me." Simon shook his head. "No. Thank you for believing in yourself." Mothers hugged their children in the audience, strangers held hands, people online shared the clip with captions like, "This gave me hope again." And for one night, across countries, across time zones, millions felt connected by a single voice. Two voices, actually, but one soul. At the closing MESSAG, Marcelito walked out of the building after the show, the LA night cool against his skin. Above him, the stars seemed brighter, as if cheering for him too. He whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude, then he smiled, not the smile of a celebrity, but the smile of a man who had finally forgiven his past.